6.49%. That is the average 30-year mortgage rate in America right now. If you own a home or want one, you already feel that number. Now here is a number you do not feel yet. 162. That is how many yen it now takes to buy $1, Japan's currency at its weakest in 40 years. It got there 2 weeks after Japan's biggest interest rate hike in 31 years, the hike that was supposed to save it. It didn't. Tokyo, June 30th, just before dawn. On dealing room screens across the city, the dollar ticks past 162 yen for the first time since 1986. 6,000 miles away, that moment quietly matters to you. Because Japan is the single largest foreign holder of United States Treasury bonds, $1.24 trillion of them. The same bonds that set the price of that 6.49%. CNBC called the yen's fall historic. Bloomberg asked how long Tokyo can hold the line. But nobody has answered the real question. If rate hikes were supposed to fix this, why did the biggest one in 3 decades change nothing? And what is Tokyo actually prepared to do next? The answer runs through a hospital bed in Tokyo, an 80-year-old fishcake shop in Kyoto, and the number on your mortgage statement. Start with the story every analyst tells. The yen is weak because of one simple gap. America pays you about 3.5% to hold dollars. Japan pays you 1%. So money does what money always does, it leaves. Traders borrow yen for almost nothing, swap it into dollars, and pocket the difference. It is called the carry trade, a free loan from a quiet friend, parked in a savings account that actually pays. The textbook fix is simple. Raise Japanese rates, close the gap, and the money comes home. On June 16th, Japan finally did it. The Bank of Japan raised its rate to 1%, the highest since 1995. But here is the strange part. The man who runs the Bank of Japan was not in the room. Governor Kazuo Yuta, 74, was in a hospital bed with an infected liver cyst, the first governor to miss a policy meeting since 1998. His deputies ran the historic meeting, and Shinichi Uchida, himself just recovered from leukemia treatment, faced the cameras. The vote was not even unanimous. Board member Toakiro Asada voted no, warning higher rates could hit jobs and factories. 2 weeks later, the yen crashed through 162 anyway. So why not hike again, harder, faster? Because Japan carries something no other rich economy carries. Government debt worth more than twice its entire economy, over 200% of GDP, against roughly 120 for America. It is like a family so deep in debt that raising rates means raising the bill on its own mortgage. And Japan's bond market is already cracking. In January, the 40-year government bond yield hit 4.2%, the highest since that bond has existed. Prime Minister Sani Takaichi is adding fuel, a 370 trillion yen spending plan that bond markets are already choking on. There is one reason this has not blown up. Over 90% of Japan's $7.3 trillion in government bonds are owned inside Japan, and the central bank itself holds more than half. Yardeni Research calls it mutually assured destruction. Picture a village where everyone lent their savings to the town hall, burn the town hall, and every home burns with it, so nobody sells. But the lock-in cuts the other way. Hike aggressively, and the losses land on the exact banks, pension funds, and insurers holding the system up. Japan already knows how that movie ends. August 2024. One small hike helped unwind roughly $250 billion of carry trades in weeks, and markets from Tokyo to New York had their worst day since the COVID crash. So the interest rate weapon is jammed. Which leaves one question. If Japan cannot hike its way out, what exactly is it fighting with? June 30th, hours after the yen breached 162. Japan's finance minister, Satsuki Katayama, stepped in front of the cameras. She is no lightweight, the first woman ever to run Japan's finance ministry, and a career official from inside it. Her message was calm. Japan is ready to take appropriate action. She repeated it the next day. Japan will respond to the currency market appropriately at any time. And on paper, she can back it up. Japan sits on one of the largest reserve war chests on Earth, roughly $1.3 trillion, that should settle the story. But buried in the finance ministry's own monthly reports is the part she does not say out loud. Japan already took appropriate action. This spring, in a single month, Tokyo spent $73.6 billion buying its own currency, the largest currency defense ever recorded. Nearly $2.5 billion a day. 5 weeks later, the yen hit its 40-year low anyway. And the vault is draining. In May alone, reserves fell $77 billion, the steepest one-month drop on record. Now look at what the war chest is actually made of. Over $930 billion of it sits in securities, and the bulk of those are United States Treasury bonds. Which means every time Japan defends the yen, the largest foreign holder of America's debt is selling America's debt. Tokyo's currency defense is, mechanically, a slow-motion sale of the bonds that price your mortgage. Yahoo Finance said it plainly: Japan's yen problem could become America's bond market problem. And while the spreadsheets drain in Tokyo, the weak yen is redrawing life on the ground. Kyoto's Nishiki market has fed the city for 400 years. Locals call it Kyoto's kitchen. Today, 8 out of 10 shoppers there are foreign tourists. The weak yen has put the whole country on sale. Dollar travelers now have up to 40% more buying power than a few years ago, and a record 40 million visitors came last year. Japan tripled its departure tax and put a 4,000 yen permit on climbing Mount Fuji, just to slow the crowds. But the crowds could not save one stall in Nishiki. A kamaboko shop, handmade fish cakes, run by the same family for nearly 80 years, closed for good. The owner's reason was quiet and brutal. Traditional fish cakes do not necessarily appeal to tourists. 80 years of 5:30 a.m. mornings, ended by an exchange rate. So the defense tool drains itself, leaks into American mortgage rates, and the weakness it fights is hollowing out the neighborhoods it was meant to protect. Here is the question that should worry Tokyo and Washington equally. What happens when the war chest runs low? Trace the chain step by step. The yen falls, so Tokyo sells dollars, mostly treasury bonds, to buy yen. More treasuries hitting the market pushes their prices down, and their yields up. And the 10-year treasury yield is the anchor American 30-year mortgage rates are priced from. A currency panic in Tokyo can, at the margin, nudge the number on your next rate quote. It is like the biggest depositor at your bank quietly pulling money out sooner or later. Everyone's loan terms feel it. So how does this end? 3 ways in order of pain. The gentle exit. ING and Scotiabank expect the Fed to keep cutting while Japan inches rates up, pulling the yen back toward 150 by year-end. No crisis, a slow grind home. The long bleed. JP Morgan sees the dollar staying strong at 164, and some forecasts stretch toward 180. In that world, Japan keeps burning reserves and keeps leaking treasuries for years. Then there is the third reading, from Robin Brooks at the Brookings Institution. The debt crisis is not coming. He argues it is already here. The central bank suppresses it by buying bonds, so the damage escapes through the only exit left, the currency. On that reading, the falling yen is not a symptom of the disease. It is the disease. Even Ed Yardeni, who coined the mutually assured destruction line, warns that the longer Japan treats symptoms instead of causes, the greater the risk of a debt stumble. Bets against the yen sit near 2-year highs, $11.3 billion riding on further falls, the same shape as the summer of 2024. Analysts are circling the July 4th holiday, when American markets go thin and quiet, as exactly the kind of window where things snap. Last time it snapped, $250 billion unwound in 3 weeks. This time the pile is bigger, and the defender is tired. Back to where we started. 6.49%. 10 minutes ago, that number felt like the most domestic thing in your life, set by the Fed, your bank, your credit score. Now you know there is a wire running under the Pacific. At one end, A currency in a 40-year fall, a central bank that cannot hike without cracking its own bond market, and a war chest made of America's debt. At the other end, your mortgage. Japan's rate hike did not fail because Tokyo was foolish. It failed because Japan's real choice was never hike or don't. It was which crisis to feed. Nobody knows where the breaking point is. Not the traders, maybe not even the Bank of Japan. Forecasts run from 150 yen to 180. That is not a forecast, that is a shrug. In Kyoto, the Kamaboko shop's shutters are down, and the market keeps filling with visitors spending strong dollars. Japan spent $73.6 billion in 1 month defending the yen, and the yen fell anyway. So leave your answer in the comments. When the firepower runs low, does Tokyo let the yen crash through 170? Or does it start selling enough of America's debt to move your mortgage? Subscribe, because the next number that moves your life will come from somewhere you are not watching.